Hey everyone, have you ever thought about what it would be like if every student could have their own personal tutor?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what Conduit is trying to do.
Really?
And we're going to be taking a deep dive into their newsletter today to figure out exactly how they do it.
This is exciting. I think it's so fascinating how they've taken all of this research on effective learning and they've distilled it down to a system that is practical and also scalable.
Okay, you've got me interested.
Yeah.
So where should we start with this?
Well, I think a good place to start would be active recall, which is a core concept that Conduit emphasizes.
Inclusive recall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how you repeat a phone number out loud when you're trying to remember it?
Right.
It's kind of the same idea, but applied to learning everything from historical facts to scientific formulas.
So it's about actually engaging with the material instead of just passively reading it or listening to it.
Exactly. And there's actually a good scientific reason why this works.
Oh, okay.
Active recall strengthens those neural pathways in your brain, making those memories stick.
So it's like working out a muscle.
Yeah, exactly. Like the more you use it, the stronger it gets.
So I'm curious, how does Conduit actually put active recall into practice?
Right.
Are they just giving kids pop quizzes all the time?
Well, not exactly.
Okay.
They use a bunch of different techniques.
Oh, okay.
Like they use flashcards, writing prompts. They even use group discussions to get students actively retrieving information.
Okay, so they're trying to make learning more interactive and engaging rather than just like a passive thing.
Right.
I got it.
Yeah.
So they're taking this learning strategy that is proven to work,
Uh-huh.
and they're incorporating it into their teaching method.
Exactly.
But how does this all connect back to their goal of replicating the benefits of having a one-on-one tutor?
Well, that's where the 2 sigma problem comes in.
The two sigma problem.
Yeah.
I've heard of that.
It's this research finding that showed that students who receive one-on-one tutoring perform much better than those in a typical classroom setting.
Okay, and how much better are we talking?
Like 2 standard deviations better.
2 standard deviations.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so for those of us who don't really understand statistics, can you break that down for us a little bit?
Sure.
What does that actually mean?
So imagine a student goes from average to scoring in the top few % of their class
Oh,
just
yeah.
because of how they're learning.
That's a huge difference.
It is huge.
But obviously not every student can have a personal tutor.
Right.
So how is Conduit trying to solve that problem?
Well, this is where Conduit's approach gets really interesting.
Okay.
They've taken those principles of active recall
Right.
and they combine them with those insights from the 2 sigma problem
Oh.
to create a system that mimics those advantages of tutoring,
Okay.
but in a way that can actually reach more students.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
Yeah.
How does this system work?
One of the key elements is that they really focus on teaching in small groups.
Okay.
We're talking 3 students or fewer per group.
Right.
This means that each student gets way more individualized attention and they have more opportunities to actively participate, which we know is crucial for learning.
Right, that makes sense because smaller groups means more chances to ask questions, to get feedback, and to really dive into the material.
Precisely. And it's not just about the group size.
Okay.
Conduit also uses a method called competency-based learning.
Okay.
So students don't move on to a new concept until they've mastered the current one.
So it's about depth over speed, basically.
Exactly.
That sounds promising, but how do they know when a student has mastered something?
Well, they use a combination of assessments and observations.
Well-
But remember all those active recall techniques we talked about?
Yes.
Those play a big role here, too.
Oh, okay.
All the quizzes, writing, assignments, projects, they're all designed to confirm that the student is actually learning the material and not just memorizing it.
Right, they want to make sure they're internalizing it.
Yes, exactly.
I'm starting to see how this all fits together.
Yeah.
They're intentionally designing a learning environment where students are constantly engaged, receiving personalized feedback, and progressing at their own pace.
Right.
But I'm curious, does Conduit's approach stop at the classroom?
Not at all.
Okay,
They realize that parents are really important in education.
of course.
Yeah, so that's why they have frequent parent meetings to make sure everyone is on the same page and to give parents the tools they need to support their kids' learning at home.
So it's like a three-pronged approach: active recall, mastery-based learning, and strong parent involvement.
Exactly.
And it all works together to create a really powerful learning experience.
It does, and what's really cool is that this isn't just some theory that sounds good.
Right.
It's a model that's based on research.
Mm.
It's designed to be scalable, and it's actually showing real results in the classroom.
Okay, so they have the data to back it up.
And they do.
All right, you've definitely got my attention. So Conduit is taking all this research and putting it into practice, in a way that seems effective
Yeah.
and like it could actually be scaled up.
Yes.
But what about the impact? Are we actually seeing a difference in student learning?
That is a great question and one that we will definitely get into next. Conduit is really good about keeping track of the impact of what they're doing. Like they're measuring everything from academic performance to student motivation.
Oh, wow. So it's not just like a feeling, they're actually collecting data.
Oh, yeah. They are all about transparency and data-driven results.
I like that.
Yeah, and they've seen like really impressive improvements in student performance across the board.
That's great.
Yeah, and we're not talking about like just a little bump in test scores or anything. It's
Right.
deeper levels of understanding, improved critical thinking, and a noticeable boost in student confidence.
So it's like they're actually comprehending the material and
Yeah.
able to apply it in different situations.
Exactly.
That's so important.
Yeah, it's about empowering students to become lifelong learners and giving them the tools and the right mindset to thrive.
And that's something that will benefit them far beyond just the classroom.
Exactly.
This is what gets me so excited about what Conduit is doing.
Yeah.
It's not just about grades.
Uh,
It's impacting how students feel about learning and their overall well-being.
Absolutely. And you know what's really inspiring is how they're focusing on things that can actually be changed to improve educational outcomes.
Oh, okay, you mean like alterable variables.
Yes, exactly. Like they're not just accepting the limitations, they're trying to change things for the better.
I'm curious, what are some examples of those alterable variables that they're focusing on?
Well, we've already talked about some of them, like active student participation
Right.
that taps into the brain's natural need for engagement and being challenged.
Right.
And then responsive teaching in those small group settings that allows for quick feedback and personalized adjustments, which research shows is crucial for effective learning. And then that strong parental involvement piece
Yes.
creates a consistent environment that reinforces what's happening at school and strengthens those neural pathways.
So it seems like they're taking this holistic approach and recognizing that learning doesn't just happen in isolation.
Right. It takes a village.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone needs to work together.
Students, teachers, and parents.
Exactly. And what's really impressive is that Conduit is very carefully studying the results of their work.
That's good.
Yeah, they're not just implementing these strategies and hoping for the best.
Right.
They're actually tracking the long-term impact on students.
Like a big experiment.
Yes, exactly. They are demonstrating that we can do better than traditional classrooms and create a system where every student has the opportunity to thrive.
So it's not about luck or privilege.
Right.
It's about using the right strategies and
Exactly.
creating the right conditions for learning.
Yes,
That's powerful.
it is.
But I want to bring it back to the listener for a second. If we were to really focus on the students themselves, what kind of changes are we seeing because of Conduit's approach?
That's a great question, and one that Conduit is very happy to share. They've seen some pretty remarkable improvements, for example. They've seen students who used to have trouble in traditional classrooms, like they were struggling, they just blossom.
Oh, wow.
Kids who weren't engaged, who were falling behind, they're now participating, they're asking really good questions, they're taking on these hard concepts with confidence.
That's so great to hear. It sounds like they're not just like getting better grades, but they're actually starting to enjoy learning.
And that's what's so amazing about this.
Yeah.
It's about helping the whole child, not just focusing on test scores, you know?
Right.
Conduit's approach is all about recognizing that learning should be fun, it should be engaging, and it should be relevant to the students' lives.
It really makes you wonder why this isn't how we've always been teaching.
Right,
But I guess that's why Conduit's work is so important.
right.
They're showing us that we can do better.
Yeah, and they're not just content with proving that this works in their classrooms.
Right.
They want to share their findings and make this model accessible to more people.
And that's where their focus on scalability is really key.
Exactly. They're not just trying to help a few students.
No.
They want to change the way we think about education as a whole.
So they're really trying to build a movement.
Yeah, they are. They're working to break down those barriers.
How are they doing that?
Well, they're partnering with other schools, they're sharing their curriculum, and they're training teachers who want to learn these methods.
Wow, that's incredibly generous of them. It really shows how committed they are to transforming education.
It is, but it's not just about being nice either.
Oh, why?
They know that for this model to be successful, it needs to be adaptable
Right.
and sustainable.
Makes sense.
That's why they're so focused on keeping track of what they're doing, collecting data, and analyzing the results.
So they're building a system and a movement at the same time.
Exactly. It's all about empowering other people to create similar learning environments for their students.
and to adapt it to the unique needs of those students.
Right. And what I think is really exciting is that they're not just focused on what we teach, like the content, the curriculum.
Right.
They're also focused on how we teach.
Okay.
They're looking at the process, the environment, the relationships that make learning really happen.
It's about recognizing that every student learns differently.
Exactly. Every brain is unique.
Right.
We need to move away from that one-size-fits-all model and create systems that celebrate those differences.
It's about seeing learning as a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. And Conduit is leading the way toward a future where that journey is personalized, engaging, and empowering for every student.
This has been such an inspiring deep dive.
It has.
Conduit's work is really a testament to the power of innovation
It is.
and to the importance of using research to guide our teaching practices.
Absolutely.
It shows us what's possible when we approach education with intention and creativity.
It does. It reminds us that we can always be learning, growing, and pushing the limits of what we think is possible.
Conduit is on a mission to make this type of effective learning accessible to more students. What do you think the future of education could look like if we take these insights to scale?
I think it would be amazing to see a future where personalized learning is the norm, where students are able to learn at their own pace and in ways that work best for them, where classrooms are dynamic and interactive, and where we foster a genuine love of learning.
A future where every student has the chance to reach their full potential, no matter what their background is.
That's something worth working towards. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Conduit and the future of education.
Until next time, keep learning and keep exploring.